It was meant to be a comfortable victory for France, but Uruguay had other ideas. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Before the game even started, we had a major victory, and that was the fact that the choirs are gone, the ones that sucked the life out of the anthems, and we're just back to the regular anthems. And what rousing renditions we had of both of them. It feels like proper anthems now and proper beginning to a rugby game, and very fitting that then the game that came after it really did light up I think the pool and the tournament as well. You know, we thought it was just going to be easy victory for France, maybe a little bit of difficulty at the start, but no, Uruguay, fair play to them. They put in such an amazing performance, but it was France that went ahead. So to get a penalty, Jaminet, he's out on the touchline, but still he puts it over the post. 3-0 to France. Uruguay, though, they're out of the blocks very quick after that. They come forward looking to show that they can actually play. They have some decent carries, gets them into the French 22. Then Echeverry puts crossfield kick on a pinhead to find Freitas, and he goes over in the corner. Echeverry then is just miles off target with his conversion, and that kind of, you know, the juxtaposition between his ability to put that kick in for the try and then the miss for the conversion by miles just kind of summed up his evening. I felt like he was all over the place. Some really good stuff, some absolutely terrible stuff, but he misses the conversion, but Uruguay still hit the lead 5 points to 3. France then, they come storming forward. Luku produces a bit of magic to get them deep into 22. They then decide to opt to take a scrum. They're about 5 minutes out and it's central. They win a penalty. Even before the ball is put in, opt to scrum again. They attack off the back of the scrum. Luciu, he fixes the defence, then gives it to Astoy. He's got options out wide. The defence doesn't know whether to drift or to stick. And then he goes over between two defenders. Jaminet converts this one as 10-5 to France. Jaminet then tags on another penalty a couple of minutes later to make it 13-5. And, you know, at this stage, France, I think they were doing the right thing, trying to keep that scoreboard ticking over. But that was the last score for a very long time. Like, it was nearly 40 minutes, I think, between scores. But we did have plenty of action. So France, they give Uruguay possession on the edge of their own 22. But Uruguay's handling lets them down as they try to spread it. It felt like with Uruguay that if their skills were that little bit better in terms of just holding on to that ball, that, you know, the game was there for them to win. France then, they look to play it out of their own half. Uruguay, they're being aggressive in defence, but France then are finding space on the edges as maybe Uruguay commit a few too many players to the tackle area. We then have a bit of a kicking battle. France, they try to run back a loose kick with Mofana, MacLeod and Villiers all involved, and they are beginning to look dangerous. But Uruguay, they managed, I think it was Villiers, to held up, and he gets held up, and then they just swarm in and then over the top, and they turn it into a maul, and they turn the ball over. It really got great work from them and kind of showed the kind of determination and, you know, some of the guile as well that they had in the game. But then, unfortunately for them, France absolutely destroyed them from the subsequent scrum, and they get a penalty. And it was Sanguinetti. He goes to ground. France go to the corner from that. Uruguay, though, they defend them all and turn it over. But then there's another scrum to come. France, though, push early, and Uruguay, they get a relieving penalty. Doesn't go too far, but, you know, they kind of at least get out of the immediate danger zone. We then have a Timo check for a head contact as Uruguay were looking to run that ball out. Taufi Fanua gets himself a yellow card for a hit in the head. It goes to the bunker for review. Earlier, Taufi Fanua showed some really nice skills passing the ball between his legs, but this one was not a good look for him. It's basically a forearm straight to the head, and I'm thinking there that that's got to be a red card. France then looking a little frantic, looking to spark something and get further scores, but it feels like they need patience. They need to find some kind of composure, and they never really did it this evening in this game. Uruguay, they start looking a bit better with ball in hand, but then Echeverri, he spills the ball forward, and with Taufi Fanua in the bin, Uruguay, they're now actually winning penalties in the scrum. We hear that there is mitigation, and Taufi Fanua's yellow stays as a yellow. They said that basically there was a change in height and there was a second tackler, and that's what the mitigation was. But for me, I felt like an elbow or a forearm direct to the head would mean that is definitely going to be red all day long. So a little surprised with that one. And again, we talk about consistency with decisions. I'm not sure what that tells us about that. I'm no expert, and I'll bow to the greater expertise of the officials there. But for me, from what I've seen from other situations, I thought that would have been a red card. But hey ho. On from here then, Uruguay, they produce probably their best move of the game, and that puts Echeverri over next to the post, and it looks like they're hitting back, but then we have a TMO check, and Inciarte, he's crossing and he obstructs a would-be tackler, so the try gets ruled out. And for a moment, Uruguay were about to make it a 1-point game. France then, just after that, they're back to 15. They come looking again to stretch their lead. They're putting Uruguay under pressure, and the pressure really is building. They get a warning from Ben O'Keefe. France attack off a 5-meter scrum, but Uruguay defend well, and MacLeod runs into his own player. Halftime score is 13-5. France struggling to impose themselves. Into the second half then, Uruguay start on the front foot, finding space, but again, handling is letting them down, and it's Amaya. He drops the ball. He had some really good moments in the build-up, though. It's still down there, but France managed to turn that ball over. Then from here, France win a penalty at the breakdown, and it gives them, an entry into the Uruguay 22. But then for them, their line-out doesn't go straight, and France, they're just not firing tonight at all. Uruguay then get another scrum penalty for France going early, and again, feels like France needs some calm heads to just get that composure back and just play simple rugby and get through this, get your win, and then maybe get the bonus point towards the end. But then France, they win a penalty from scrum round about halfway. They point to the post, so looking to stretch that lead and just kind of secure the victory. And the fact that they're making that decision at this point of the game is full credit to the efforts of Uruguay. Jaminet, though, he misses the kick to the left. It's then France's turn to have a try chalked off. Villiers, he gathers a loose ball, and it was basically from an up and under. He goes over the line, but then the TMO check, we see that it's actually come off Shalanch's arm, and it's a knock on, so therefore no try. Uruguay then, they come forward again. Initially, it's pretty pedestrian from them, as they're going one out carriers and they're not really making much ground, but then they spread it, and Amaya, he goes outside of Vincent and over to score in the corner. Echeverri makes it a 1-point game then by getting the conversion. It's 13-12, and the dream is on at this stage. Echeverri, though, he messes up the restart, and France are in for a try. He basically hit his own player with an attempted clearance. Mauvaka, does really well to gather the loose ball and then get over to score. Jaminet adds the extras and it's 20 points to 12. And you just feel like what might have been if it just had been a standard clearance and France were made to work for that extra try. France then, they win another scrum penalty, kick to the corner. They're trying to go for the jugular at this stage. They go to the maul, but again, Uruguay get in there, disrupt, make it unplayable, turn it over. And there's so many, many tier 1 nations could learn from the way they defended the mauls tonight. It really was a masterclass. And, we always think of tier 1 at every facet of game being better than tier 2 teams, but here's a tier 2 team showing us how to deal with a decent French maul. France then, they win a penalty at the scrum, and it's making it difficult for Uruguay to lift the siege. France then up to scrum again, but Uruguay, they win the penalty at this scrum. France going to ground. They then win another penalty round about halfway. They go up the line, and this would be basically an upset with no equal in Rugby World Cup history if Uruguay were to go on and win this. We've seen, the likes of Japan knocking over Ireland and South Africa previously, and other big upsets, but this just would be way beyond that scale if it were to happen. We then have Vianci. He seems to be involved in everything as Uruguay. They're looking to hold onto the ball. They're going through more phases now, but unfortunately they can't keep it going. And then France come back at them. The forwards, to get France into the 22. Then you have some really nice handling from the backs. That puts BRE over in the corner. He had a very quiet night, and it was a pretty easy run in for his try. But this guy, he is going to shine at some stage in this Rugby World Cup. So keep an eye on him, because he is an absolute star of the future. And maybe if France go deep into this World Cup, also of this one. Jaminet, he tags on the extras, is 27-12. It feels like France have finally actually won the game. But Uruguay then, time running out, they come looking for another score. They have some decent handling. But then Mauvaka, first of all, counters. He pounces on the ball that comes through the ruck and has the gas to go the length of the field to score. But then we have a TMO check. He's actually kicked the ball through the ruck, and it's no try, penalty to Uruguay. Uruguay then, they continue to apply pressure, forcing penalty after penalty. France get a warning from the referee with about 30 seconds left in the game. Uruguay then have a final chance in the French 22. They're holding onto the ball well, but not really making any progress. And then finally the knock-on that has plagued them all night again happens. That's the end of the game. Full time, 27-12. France avoid a huge shock. No bonus point for them, but to just be relieved that they actually come out with the win from this one. Uruguay really gave it a go, made it difficult for France, and it was just that at crucial moments their skills let them down. And what might have been if they'd been able to clear after they've gotten back to a 1 point game and then just go from there and see what happens. France never got going, and plenty of that credit needs to go to Uruguay for that. No bonus point for them tonight, and possibly would be a big problem if this was a more competitive pool. But who knows, if we do have a shock in this pool, it could actually be crucial in the end.